And to talk more about the West Asia crisis, I'm joined on the show by Kinvara Jangid. He's a West Asia expert, teaches at the O.P. Jindal Global University in the National Capital Region. Thank you for joining us. Give us a sense of what do we make of this lull? Is it really the lull before the storm there?
Thank you. Good evening. It's actually a lull after, Trump's policy of using, sticks. He excels on the carrot and a stick policy. And if you look at the last 14 days, he really, without suspending the negotiations, made it very clear to Iran that Iran will not negotiate on its own terms. He lost the war in a way that Iranian regime survived, but he didn't want to lose the deal. He can still find it very hard to get a deal on US terms. But what we see in the last 2 weeks is actually a very traditional thing in international relations, where war is not an aberration. War is actually an instrument of foreign policy to achieve its objective. And the US objective right now is to achieve a deal on its own terms where Iran will agree to, let's say, nuclear denuclearization, extracting the uranium, and ending the proxies. So I think yesterday night was a very, unusually quiet night, and Iran declared that there were no attacks. And we understand that now he's going to pause for maybe another 2 weeks. By mid-August, he will be free from the US midterm elections. And everybody assumes that he might not aggravate the situation till then, but then he will be much more free to resume these kind of strides to weaken Iranian upper hand in the negotiations.
To weaken Iranian upper hand. But Iran says, Dr. Jangir, that we don't negotiate under pressure. We'll not bow down to pressure. That's what Abbas Araghchi said. So the Iranians clearly are not backing down either.
It's very important for them to say this, but we agree that in the larger setting of the power relations, Iran will not have much of this leverage of Hormuz. If we just look at the strategy that Donald Trump used, in order to nullify this Hormuz leverage and the economic oil market, US has been pumping something like 13 million barrels of oil per day. He, in fact, went ahead and released 400 million barrels of the US petroleum reserve. So I think he has understood where the Iranian strength lies, which is to put the whole international oil market at ransom. And by creating these kind of cushions, he has now, in a way, become much more indifferent to the continuation of the fights in the Hormuz. And he is also joined by a country like Saudi Arabia, and that's why we understand right now Iran is trying to escalate its attack on Saudi Arabia or the oil that the Saudi Arabia is sending out via Red Sea. And that's why in the last 2-3 days, we saw Iran attacking more in the region rather than American bases.
Yeah, that's true. So what are you then arguing? Are you saying that Iran is just doing this shadow back boxing, trying to project itself as strong? There is the Americans can take the Iranians off the Strait of Hormuz and take their control off. Are you saying that?
It seems to be the case. Let's understand. Iran and the regime at least flourishes on the word of resistance. Is stepping up to Americans. Since 1979, the religious revolution, this is let's say one of their foreign policy objectives, to stand up to America. So it's important for them to say this, but when it will come to the real negotiations under these kind of attacks, Iran will not be able to, give much opposition to the American demands. Just look at the last deal that America succeeded in having with Iran in the year 2015 when the Barack Obama was the president. It became very obvious at that time that Iran completely set aside its nuclear mission and agreed to a very, very internationally monitored treaty. So I do think that Iran is, at the end of the day, Iranian regime at the end of the day has an interest to survive. And one of the ways to survive is to keep itself externally, without attacks and strengthen the regime from within. So I do think these are the last, let's say, parts of the Iranian short-lived victory. When people say Iran won this war, it just means that they
Means they
survived.
survived. Yeah, yeah.
Donald Trump is going to now really make it harder for them to survive the American attacks. Regime can survive inside, but can it really continue with this war of attrition? How long? If Donald Trump will assure that the international oil market will not jump above 100, then I don't think much of the world will object to the American attacks on the Iranian, sites or the Iranian ports being blocked by the United States.
So are you then arguing, Dr. Jangid, that the situation is heading towards that?
It is heading towards that. If you look at the role of China in the last 1 month, China, which has been heavily oil importing country, has reduced a lot of its import, which is also in a way helping the stability of the international oil market. Lot many Chinese are using electric cars, electric taxis, and China has a very explicit statement to reduce its oil import, which is to say Donald Trump will really not have any significant ally of Iran that will challenge his war against Iran.
Okay. But the Iranians have pulled out their last card, the Houthis, expanding the theater to from the Persian Gulf to now the Red Sea. How does that change things?
Which tells us they're in a very desperate situation. If America is coping with this war of attrition, and if America has secured the international oil market, then what is the left card that Iran can have to destabilize the other regional oil producers? That's what Iranian leaders said some days back, that if Iranian ports will be blocked, nobody will be allowed to ship oil out of the region. It's now a matter of how much Houthis can really fight the fight for the Iranians. Houthis are influential in terms of interrupting and disrupting some ships. But let's understand this. Israeli attacks on the Houthis also expose them that they are not really very deep-seated power in Yemen. So I think Americans will, in the last Houthi war with Israel, America did not join those attacks. But I think now America can very well show Houthis that they will come under the attack of the Americans if they will disrupt the Red Sea connection.
So you're saying they can't, the Houthis are not really capable of sustained naval blockade of the Bab al-Mandab?
Indeed not. Indeed not. And I think Donald Trump, look at another event that Donald Trump has acquired. He just hosted 3 days back the Lebanese leader, Joseph Aoun, the president of Lebanon.
Right.
And Lebanon now has a very full-fledged treaty with Israel, a historic bilateral treaty facilitated by the Americans. And when he hosted Joseph Aoun, he declared from America that Lebanon is fully ready to renounce its war against Israel. So I think Donald Trump in piecemeal is really weakening the Iranian proxies because Hezbollah hasn't started attacking Israel.
Okay. All right. Then, Hezbollah weakened, the Houthis, you saying, can't hold for long, Iranians weakened. What are those Palestinians in this thing called Hamas weakened? So are you saying that the Americans now have, once again proven their dominance there and will get a sort of treaty on their terms?
It's a long path.
It's a long path.
It's a long path. It's not going to be a good news for us, let's say India. If Hormuz will remain under this war of attrition for the next 3 to 6 months, oil prices, if they remain, let's say, above 80 even, it's going to really hit the Asian markets very badly in an accumulated loss of revenue. Americans have at least not suspended the negotiation. So what I take this development as a strategy to bring Iran back to the negotiation table, but with not too much of a victory and a self pat on their back, but to say that yes, we also need the deal and we will compromise on at least two counts, which is the nuclear issue and the fight against Israel. He's willing to give them, a lot of carrots. One of the carrots is, these reconstruction money that Iran will be rebuilt. They will be paid this kind of a money, more than 300 billion to revive their economy. So I think there is always a dilemma in interaction. It's a bit like a parenting, when to give the stick and when to give the carrot. So he's not also in a way who can assure one kind of a plan of action, but I think he's debating these two options constantly, and he's hoping that the regime will really come to a weaker position, if not now, then by September.
Okay. Well, we'll see where it goes, but right now it looks like for the moment the tensions have halted. How long Trump wants that, as Dr. Jangid argues, midterm elections are weighing on his mind. So once he's through with them, things could go ahead, but either way. And before that, there will be a lot of pain and a lot of turmoil. Dr. Kinvara Jangid, that's all the time we have on the show. Thank you very much for joining us and lending us your perspective. Thank you.